High Counselor Ravik had served the Velian Empire for 60 years. He had seen 3 queens rule, and each one understood the proper order of things. Velians were superior, emotions were weaknesses. Royalty maintained distance from common beings, especially alien ones. Then came Thalos, and now this human contamination. Ravik watched through his own network of spies as the queen degraded herself, learning to play with blocks like a common child. He watched the princess treat the human male as family. It made his crystalline form burn with disgust. "This cannot continue," he said to the other traditionalist counselors gathered in his private chambers. "The human is corrupting our princess. Soon she will be unfit to rule. What can we do?" asked Counselor Mira, an elderly female who shared his views. "The queen has given her blessing. Then we remove the blessing." Ravik's eyes glowed with cold determination. "We remove the queen." The others shifted nervously. Ravik was suggesting treason, possibly war within their own court. "We do not harm her," Ravik continued. "We simply make her see reason. We take the princess, isolate her from the human influence, and present Thalos with a choice: return to proper Velian ways or abdicate in favor of a regent council that will raise Lyra correctly. The queen will never agree. She will when she sees her daughter in our custody. Even corrupted by human softness, she is still a mother. She will choose her daughter's safety over her throne." They planned carefully. Ravik had allies among the royal guard, Velians who also believed in the old ways. He had access codes and override protocols. Most importantly, he had patience. He would wait for the perfect moment. That moment came 3 days later. Deho had told Lyra his answer that morning. Yes, he would be her Earth father. The little princess had glowed so brightly with happiness that she looked like a small sun. They celebrated with hot chocolate and stories, and Thalos joined them, smiling at her daughter's joy. It was perfect. Which meant Ravik knew it was time to strike. The attack came during the station's night cycle. Ravik had planned it precisely. He used his codes to lock down the royal quarters and seal the human sections separately. Then his loyal guards moved in to secure Princess Lyra. Deho woke to alarms blaring. His military training kicked in immediately. This wasn't a hull breach or system malfunction. This was a security lockdown. Someone was attacking. He tried his door. Sealed. Communication systems were jammed. He was trapped. "No," he whispered. His first thought was Lyra. If someone was attacking, they would go for the princess. He had to get to her. Jiwoo's voice came through on his emergency communicator, the old military-grade one he kept for emergencies. "Deho, something's happening. All the humans are sealed in quarters. The Velian guards aren't responding. Can you reach Hana?" "Already on it." "She's in the docking bay. If we can get there, we might be able to do something. We need to reach Lyra." "I know. Working on it." Deho looked around his quarters frantically. He was a combat engineer before becoming a diplomat. He knew stations inside and out. There had to be a way. The maintenance shafts. Every station had them. Spaces too small for most beings to worry about, but perfect for repairs and emergencies. The Velians probably didn't even think about them. He pulled up station schematics on his personal tablet, grateful he had downloaded them weeks ago for a completely different reason. Yes, there was a maintenance shaft 2 rooms over. If he could reach it, he could navigate to the royal quarters. But first he had to get out of his current prison. Deho grabbed his emergency toolkit and went to work on the door panel. It took him 15 precious minutes to bypass the lock, his hands shaking the whole time. Finally, the door hissed open. The corridor was empty. He ran to the maintenance access, pried it open, and climbed inside. The shaft was tight and dark, but he had his tablet for light. He moved as fast as he could through the narrow space, following the route he had memorized. Meanwhile, in the royal quarters, Lyra woke to find strange guards in her room. Not her usual protectors, but hard-faced Velians she didn't recognize. "What is happening?" she asked, fear making her voice small. "Princess Lyra, you are being relocated for your safety," one guard said. It was not a kind voice. "I want my mother. I want Deho. They cannot help you now. Come with us." Lyra tried to run, but crystal bonds formed around her wrists, gentle but unbreakable. They led her through secret passages she had never seen before, down into the bowels of the station where the Velian delegation had their most secure areas. They brought her to a large chamber where High Counselor Ravik waited. Lyra had seen him before at formal events. "He always made her feel cold inside, princess," he said with a bow that felt mocking. Welcome to your new quarters. This is not my room. I want to go back. I want my mother. Your mother has been informed. She will come to you soon, and then we will all have a very important conversation about the future of the Velian Empire. Where is Deho? Is he safe? Ravik's expression hardened. The human is the reason you are here. His influence has corrupted you and your mother. We are fixing that corruption. Deho did not corrupt anything. He taught me about love and family and being happy. Exactly. Velian royalty does not concern itself with such weak emotions. You have forgotten your purpose. My purpose is to be happy and help others be happy too. Deho taught me that. Ravik shook his head sadly. You see, this is what the human has done to you. But we will correct it. You will be raised properly away from alien influences. Lyra felt tears forming. She had just found happiness and now they were taking it away. But she remembered what Deho taught her. Be brave, think clearly. Don't give up. My mother will not allow this, she said, forcing her voice to be steady. She is the queen. Your mother will have a choice, Ravik said. Her throne or her daughter? I believe I know which she will choose. In the Velian royal quarters, Thalis had woken to find her guards replaced and her daughter gone. The rage that filled her was like nothing she had ever felt. She confronted the new guards with fury. Where is my daughter? High Counselor Ravik has secured the princess for her safety, Your Majesty. Secured? She has been kidnapped. Return her immediately. The counselor wishes to speak with you first. About the future of the Empire. Thalis understood immediately. This was a coup. Ravik was using Lyra as leverage to force her hand. The old ways against the new. Traditional Velian distance against the human warmth she had begun to embrace. She could give in. Return to being the Cold Queen. Raise Lyra in isolation. Keep her throne and power. But as she thought about it, she remembered watching Deho hold her daughter during the emergency. She remembered Lyra's face when she learned to play games. She remembered the feeling of building blocks together, of being a mother instead of just a ruler. No, she would not go back. Not for a throne. Not for an empire. Tell Ravik I am coming, she said coldly. And he has made a grave mistake. Deho emerged from the maintenance shaft near the royal quarters, dirty and exhausted. He found chaos, guards arguing, attendants in panic, and no sign of Lyra. He grabbed one of the friendlier attendants. Where is Princess Lyra? Taken by Ravik's people. The queen has gone to negotiate. Where? The lower security levels. But you cannot go there. It is too dangerous. Deho was already moving. He contacted Jiwoo on his communicator. I need you and Hana, now, and bring anything that can help in a fight. Deho, what are you planning? I'm getting my daughter back. The words came out natural and sure. His daughter, not the princess. Not a diplomatic assignment. His daughter who needed him. Jiwoo's voice was fierce when she responded. On our way. Let's show these aliens how humans protect their family. Deho moved through the station using every trick he had learned in 20 years of military and diplomatic service. He avoided main corridors, used service routes, and followed the layout of similar stations he had worked on before. He found Jiwoo and Hana near the lower levels. Jiwoo had a medical kit and some chemical supplies from her lab. Hana carried emergency tools from her pilot supplies. We can't fight trained guards, Hana said practically. We need a better plan. We don't fight. We create chaos and extract Lyra in the confusion. Deho's mind was already working through possibilities. The Velians rely on their crystal technology. What if we disrupted it? Jiwoo's eyes lit up. I have something. A harmonic frequency generator. We use it to study crystal formations. At the right frequency, it could cause interference in their systems. How much interference? Enough to make their sensors and communications go haywire. Maybe even their lights. It would be temporary, but it might give us a window. That's all we need. Come on. They moved deeper into the station until they found the secured level where Ravik was holding Lyra. Deho could see guards at checkpoints, too many to sneak past. Jiwoo, set up your device. Hana, when things go dark, I need you to cause more chaos. Set off alarms, make noise, whatever you can. And you? I'm getting my little girl. Jiwoo activated the harmonic generator. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the crystal walls started to resonate. The lights flickered. Guard communication systems squealed with feedback. Everything went dark. In the chaos, Deho ran forward. The arrangement began the next evening. Deho felt strange walking to the royal quarters, knowing he was about to teach a queen how to be a mother. But Thalas had been sincere in her request, and he couldn't ignore someone genuinely asking for help with their child. Thalas greeted him at the door, alone. No attendants, no guards, just a mother, looking nervous in a way that made her seem almost human. "Thank you for coming," she said quietly. "Lyra does not know about this yet. I want to learn first before I try with her. I do not want to fail again." "You haven't failed," Deho said gently. "You're here now. That's what matters." They sat in a simple room, nothing like the formal throne areas. Thalas had chosen a space that felt more intimate, with comfortable furniture and soft lighting. "Where do I start?" she asked. And there was something heartbreaking about such a powerful being asking such a basic question. "Start with why," Deho said. "Why do you want to be closer to Lyra?" Thalas thought carefully. "When I watched you hold her during the hull breach, when I saw you put yourself in danger to protect her, I realized something. You acted on instinct. You did not think about duty or protocol. You just knew she needed protection and you gave it. I should have that instinct for my own daughter, but I do not. You can develop it. It's not too late." "How?" "You start by spending time with her. Real time, not royal obligations. Time where you're not the queen and she's not the princess. Just mother and daughter." Thalas looked uncertain. "What do we do during this time?" Over the next hour, Deho taught her the basics. How to ask about Lyra's day and really listen to the answer. How to notice what makes her happy or sad. How to offer comfort without trying to fix everything immediately. Simple things that Thalas had never learned. "Velian royalty are taught that emotion is weakness," Thalas admitted. "That showing affection makes others think you are vulnerable. I have lived my whole life behind walls." "Those walls protected you," Deho said. "But they also kept Lyra out." "Yes." The queen's light dimmed with sadness. "I see that now. I see it every time she lights up for you, and she has never lit up that way for me. That can change. But you have to be willing to be vulnerable with her. Children need to see that it's okay to have feelings." They talked for 2 hours that first night. Thalas asked questions that showed how little she knew about basic parenting, and Deho answered each one with patience. By the end, they had a plan. The next day, Thalas invited Lyra to have breakfast with her. Just the two of them in the queen's private quarters. Deho waited anxiously in his own quarters, hoping it would go well. It didn't. Lyra came to him later that morning, confused and upset. "Mother asked me strange questions. She wanted to know what I liked to do for fun. She asked if I was happy." "Why would she ask these things now?" Deho chose his words carefully. "Maybe she's trying to get to know you better. But she is my mother. Should she not already know me?" Sometimes parents realize they don't know their children as well as they should. When that happens, they try to fix it. Lyra sat down heavily. It felt wrong. She was trying, but it was like watching someone act in a play. The words were right, but something was missing. Deho's heart sank. He had known this would be hard, but he hadn't realized how obvious Thalas's awkwardness would be. That evening, he met with Thalas again. She looked defeated. "I failed. I asked the questions you suggested, but Lyra just looked at me strangely. I do not know how to do this naturally. It takes practice and time. You've spent 8 years being formal with her. You can't undo that in one breakfast. Perhaps I should give up. Perhaps I'm not capable of this." "No." Deho surprised himself with the firmness in his voice. "You don't give up on your child, ever. That's the first rule of being a parent." Thalas looked at him with surprise, then something like respect. "You are right. I am acting like a coward." They developed a new strategy. Instead of formal meetings, Thalas would join the time Deho spent with Lyra. She would watch, learn, and slowly participate. It was less intimidating than trying to suddenly be a different person. The first session was awkward. Lyra was reading a story with Deho when Thalas quietly entered and sat nearby. Lyra stopped reading and stared at her mother. "Please continue," Thalas said softly. "I would like to listen if that is acceptable." Lyra glanced at Deho, who nodded encouragingly. She went back to reading, but her voice was uncertain now. Deho could see her stealing glances at her mother, trying to understand what was happening. When the story ended, Thalas spoke. "That was a good story. The way you read it with different voices for each character was very clever." Lyra's eyes widened. "You were listening?" "Yes, I enjoyed it very much." It was a small moment, but it was real. Deho saw Lyra's light pulse with cautious happiness. Over the next week, Thalas attended more sessions. She watched Deho play games with Lyra and slowly started to understand the patterns. How he let Lyra win sometimes to build her confidence. How he used mistakes as teaching moments instead of criticisms. How he found ways to praise effort instead of just results. One evening, Deho brought out the building blocks. He and Lyra were constructing a tower when Thalas asked, "May I help?" Lyra nodded, still wary but curious. Thalas carefully placed a block, and when the tower stayed stable, Lyra smiled. "Good placement, Mother." Such a simple phrase, but Thalas glowed at the praise from her daughter. They built together, and for the first time it felt natural. "Mother," Lyra said suddenly, "why are you doing this?" "Why now?" Thalas put down her block and looked at her daughter. Deho had coached her on this conversation. "Be honest," he had said. "Children know when you're lying." "Because I realized I was not being the mother you deserve," Thalas said simply. "I was so focused on being queen that I forgot you needed more than that. I forgot you needed a mother who plays with you and listens to you and makes you feel special. But you are the queen. You have important things to do. Nothing is more important than you." Thalas reached out slowly and touched Lyra's hand. "I am sorry it took me so long to understand that. I'm sorry I made you feel alone." Lyra stared at their joined hands. Then tentatively she squeezed her mother's fingers. "Are you going to keep doing this? Spending time with me? If you want me to. I understand if you prefer your time with Deho. I cannot compete with what he gives you." "It is not a competition," Lyra said, and Deho's heart swelled with pride at her wisdom. "You are my mother. He is something different. But both can be important." That night, after Lyra went to sleep, Thalas and Deho talked in quiet voices. "She accepted me," Thalas said with wonder. "Even after everything, she still wants me to try." "Children are forgiving," Deho said. "They want to love their parents. They just need to feel loved in return. I do love her. I always have. I just never knew how to show it. You're learning. That's what matters." Thalas was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "What will you tell her?" "About being her Earth father." Deho had been thinking about that constantly. "I want to say yes, but I don't want to take your place or confuse her about who her real mother is. You are not taking my place. You are filling a space I left empty." Thalas met his eyes. "Lyra needs you, and I think you need her too. I have watched you with her, Deho. You are not teaching her out of duty. You are loving her as a father loves a daughter." "Yes," he admitted. "I am." "Then tell her yes. Be her Earth father. I give my blessing." "Really? Really?" Thalas's light pulsed with emotion. "I can be her mother and her queen. You can be her father and her friend. She is lucky enough to have both. Why would I deny her that?" Deho felt tears on his face. "Thank you." "Thank you," Thalas countered, "for showing me what I was missing. For being patient while I learned. For caring about my daughter when I had forgotten how." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Thalas said something that surprised him. "There are members of my court who will not like this. They believe in the old ways where Velian royalty maintains distance from all others, especially aliens. They will see this as weakness. Do you care what they think? I am the queen. I must care about politics. But as a mother?" Thalas smiled, a real smile that made her whole being shine. "As a mother, I do not care at all. My daughter's happiness is worth more than their approval." It was, Deho thought, the most human thing he had ever heard an alien say. What neither of them knew was that in the shadows of the royal court, High Counselor Ravik was listening to reports from his spies, and he was not pleased. The question came on a quiet evening during the station's night cycle. Deho had just finished reading Lyra her third bedtime story. She insisted on 3 now, claiming 1 was never enough. He didn't mind. These moments had become the best part of his days. Lyra was curled up on the couch in his quarters, wrapped in a soft blanket that Hana had found for her. Velians didn't need blankets for warmth, but Lyra loved the feeling of being tucked in. It made her feel safe, she said, protected. "Deho," her voice was small in the dim light. "Yes, little one? I have been thinking about something important." She sat up and her eyes glowed with nervous energy. "You have taught me so much about Earth humans, about families and fathers and love, and I understand now what I have been missing." Deho felt his stomach tighten. He knew something big was coming. I have a mother, Lyra continued. Queen Thalas is my mother by birth. But she does not do the things you taught me about. She does not read stories or play games or make me feel warm inside. She is the queen first and maybe a mother second or third, or not at all. Lyra, please let me finish. The princess took a deep breath, something she had learned from watching him. You do all the father things. You teach me and protect me and make me laugh. You make me feel like I matter, not because I am a princess, but because I am me. So I want to ask you something. She slipped off the couch and stood in front of him, her small hands clasped together. Will you be my Earth father? The words hung in the air between them. Deho felt like the station's artificial gravity had suddenly failed. His mind raced through 1,000 implications, 1,000 reasons to say no. This could destroy the diplomatic talks. It could insult the queen. It could cause an interstellar incident. He wasn't even Lyra's species. How could he be her father? It was impossible, inappropriate, dangerous. But looking at her hopeful eyes, at this small person who had brought light back into his dark life, only one word wanted to come out. He started, then stopped. Lyra, that's a very big question. Being a father is a serious thing. It means responsibility and commitment and being there even when it's hard. I know. You taught me that. And I'm human. You're Velian. We're from different worlds. Does that matter? You said family is not about being the same. You said it is about caring for each other. Deho felt tears prick his eyes. She had been listening. Really listening. You're right. I did say that. So will you? Please? Her voice cracked slightly. I promise I will be good. I will listen and learn and try very hard. I just want someone who chooses me. Not the crown. Not the empire. Just me. Deho pulled her into a hug. You don't have to promise to be good. You're already perfect just as you are. But this decision affects more than just us. I need time to think about it properly. Can you give me that time? Lyra nodded against his chest. Yes, take the time you need. That is what good fathers do, right? They think carefully about important things. That's right. After Lyra left with her attendant, Deho sat in the dark for a long time. His heart said yes immediately, but his head knew the complications this could cause. Finally, he contacted Jiwoo. She arrived 20 minutes later with coffee and worried eyes. What happened? He told her everything. When he finished, Jiwoo was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. She asked you to be her father. That's beautiful, Deho. That's complicated. Love usually is. She sipped her coffee. What does your heart say? Yes, immediately, completely yes. Then what's the problem? The queen, the diplomatic mission. The fact that I'm a human and she's an alien princess. Pick one. Jiwoo leaned forward. Let me tell you what I see. I see a man who was drowning in grief until a lonely child gave him a reason to live again. I see a child who was dying inside from loneliness until a kind man showed her what love feels like. Maybe this is impossible. Maybe it will cause problems. But maybe, just maybe, it's exactly what both of you need. And the queen? Have you noticed something strange? Jiwoo asked. Thalas approved all of this. She let Lyra spend hours with you every day. She gave permission for private time. She never interrupted or interfered. Why would she do that if she disapproved? Deho hadn't thought about it that way. Jiwoo was right. The queen could have stopped this at any time. But she hadn't. What he didn't know was that Queen Thalas was asking herself the same questions. In her meditation chamber, she had watched Lyra ask the question. She had seen the hope in her daughter's eyes, the desperate need for someone to choose her. And she had seen something else. She had seen herself reflected in Deho's careful response. He hadn't just said yes to make Lyra happy. He had considered the weight of the commitment. He had thought about what was truly best for the child. That was what a real parent did. Thalas touched the crystal sphere, freezing the image of Deho hugging her daughter. How many times had she held Lyra like that? She tried to remember and couldn't find a single memory, not one embrace, not one moment of pure affection without political purpose. She had failed her daughter. That truth sat in her chest like a shard of ice. But perhaps it wasn't too late. If she could learn from this human, if she could understand what real parenting meant, maybe she could still build a relationship with Lyra. Maybe she could become the mother her daughter deserved. The thought terrified her. Velian queens did not admit weakness. They did not ask for help. They certainly did not learn from other species, but she had watched Deho for weeks now. She had seen him be vulnerable with Lyra, admit when he didn't know something, apologize when he made mistakes, and none of it made him weak. If anything, it made him stronger. Thalas made a decision. She would speak to the human, not as a queen to a diplomat, as a mother to someone who knew how to be a parent. The next day, Deho received a formal summons to Queen Thalas's private quarters. His stomach dropped. This was it. She knew about Lyra's question, and she was going to end everything. He arrived at the appointed time, expecting royal guards and formal protocols. Instead, he found Thalas alone in a simple room, sitting by a window that showed the stars. "Captain Kim," she said, and her voice was softer than he had ever heard it. "Please sit." He sat, nervous and confused. Thalas was silent for a long moment. Then she said something that shocked him completely. "I have been watching you, with my daughter. Every moment, every lesson, every game. I have crystal monitors throughout the station. I know this is wrong by your human standards, but it is how Velian royalty ensures security." Deho's blood ran cold. "You've been spying on us?" "Yes," she met his eyes without shame. "And I have learned something from my spying. I have learned that I am a terrible mother. Whatever Deho expected, it wasn't that. Your Majesty, please let me speak." Thalas stood and walked to the window. "My mate died 3 years ago. Lyra barely remembers him. I was so consumed with ruling, with being strong for the Empire, that I forgot to be there for my daughter. I told myself she had tutors and attendants. I told myself she was being properly educated, but I never asked if she was happy. I never asked if she felt loved." She turned back to him, and Deho saw something he never expected to see in an alien queen. Tears. Crystal tears that caught the light like falling stars. "Then I watched you with her. I watched you make her laugh. I watched you protect her during the emergency. I watched you teach her that she matters simply because she exists, not because of her title." Thalas's voice broke. "And I realized that in 3 weeks you have given her more real parenting than I have given her in 8 years. Deho didn't know what to say. The Queen of the Valiant Empire was crying in front of him, admitting her failures as a mother. "Lyra asked you to be her father." Thalas continued. "I heard her, and I understand why she would ask. You are everything a father should be. Your Majesty, I would never try to replace you. I know, that is not what I am afraid of." She took a shaky breath. "What I am afraid of is that I do not know how to be what she needs. I was raised to rule, not to nurture. I thought those were the same thing, but they are not." She looked at him with desperate eyes. "Teach me, please. Teach me how to be a mother the way you are a father. I am a queen, yes, but I am Lyra's mother first. I want to be better. I need to be better." Deho stared at this powerful alien ruler humbling herself before him, and he realized that maybe, just maybe, there was a way forward that could work for everyone. 2 weeks passed on Harmony Gate, and those weeks changed everything. Lyra came to visit Deho every day during the station's afternoon cycle. At first, her attendants stayed nearby, watching with disapproving eyes. But Queen Thalas sent word that the princess could have privacy during her educational time. The attendants left, though Deho suspected they were never truly alone. The first real lesson happened on the 3rd day. Deho was drinking coffee when Lyra arrived, and she asked what he was doing. Having a morning drink, coffee. Humans needed to wake up properly. He smiled at his own joke. "Why do you hold the cup with both hands?" Deho looked down. He hadn't even realized he was doing it. "It's warm. The warmth feels nice." Lyra stared at him like he had said something profound. "Velians do not drink warm things. We consume energy crystals. They are efficient. But are they nice?" The question seemed to confuse her. Deho got up and went to his small kitchen area. He made hot chocolate, something sweet and gentle. When he gave it to Lyra in a small cup, she held it carefully. "It is warm," she said with wonder. "It makes my hands feel good. Now try drinking it." Slowly. Lyra took a sip and her eyes went wide. Light rippled through her body in waves of gold and orange. "It is sweet. And warm inside too." Deho laughed, really laughed for the first time in years. "That's hot chocolate. Human children love it. I love it too." Lyra took another sip, then looked at him with serious eyes. "Is this what Earth fathers do? Make warm, sweet things?" "Sometimes. Fathers do lots of things. They teach, they play, they protect. Mostly, they just spend time with their children." "Spend time?" Lyra set down her cup. What does that mean? Deho realized how alien the concept must be to her. It means being together without a purpose, just enjoying each other's company. For the rest of that day, they just spent time together. Deho showed her pictures from Earth. He told her about oceans and forests, things that didn't exist on Crystal Velian Prime. Lyra listened to everything with hunger, like someone starving finally finding food. The next day, Deho brought something new. His colleague Jiwoo Park, a xenobiologist, had helped him print out a children's book from the Earth database. It was simple, with big pictures and easy words. What is this? Lyra touched the pages with fascination. A story. Humans tell stories to children before sleep. It's called a bedtime story. Before sleep? But sleep is just biological necessity. Deho shook his head. Not for humans. Sleep time is special, especially for children. Parents make it comfortable and safe. They read stories, they sing songs, they make sure their kids feel loved. Loved. Lyra repeated the word like she was tasting it. What does love feel like? The question hit Deho hard. How do you explain love, especially to a child who had never felt it from her own mother? Love feels like, he thought carefully, like being warm inside, like knowing someone wants you to be happy, like knowing someone will protect you, not because they have to, but because they want to. Lyra was quiet. Then she said, "Will you read me the story?" Deho read her the tale of a brave little robot who learned to feel emotions. Lyra sat close to him on the couch, getting closer and closer as the story went on. By the end, she was leaning against his arm, completely absorbed. The robot found a family, she said when he finished, even though it was different. Yes, family isn't always about being the same. It's about caring for each other. I wish, Lyra started, then stopped. What do you wish? I wish my mother would read me stories. Deho didn't know what to say to that. He just put his arm around the small princess, and she leaned into the embrace like she had been waiting her whole life for it. In her meditation chamber, Queen Thalas watched this scene. Her hands trembled slightly, making the crystal spheres around her vibrate. She had never held her daughter like that. It had never occurred to her that she could. Velian royalty did not engage in physical affection. It was seen as weak, as emotional, as beneath them. But watching the human hold her daughter, watching Lyra's whole body glow with happiness, Thalas felt something break inside her. Was it weak? Or had she been wrong all along? The lessons continued. Deho taught Lyra simple games. He showed her how to play catch with a soft ball, though she was terrible at it and they both laughed when she missed. He taught her rock, paper, scissors, and she loved the randomness of it, so different from Velian strategic games. Another human on the station, a pilot named Hana Choi, brought toys from the human family quarters. Building blocks, puzzle cubes, drawing materials. Lyra discovered she loved to draw, even though her crystal fingers made it difficult to hold the pencils. Deho showed her how to steady her hand, and she drew pictures of things she imagined. Earth oceans, human families. A crystal princess playing in a forest. You're good at this, Deho said, genuinely impressed. No one ever let me try before. Velian princesses study history and law and military strategy, not play. Well, that's going to change, Deho said firmly. Every child should get to play. The turning point came during a station emergency. It was minor. Just a small hull breach in a maintenance sector, but alarms went off throughout Harmony Gate. Deho and Lyra were in the recreation area when it happened. The lights went red. Automated voices announced the breach. People started moving quickly toward safe zones. Lyra stood frozen, fear making her body dim to almost gray. Deho didn't think. He scooped her up in his arms and ran toward the nearest emergency shelter. She was heavier than a human child, solid like stone, but adrenaline gave him strength. He held her head against his chest, one hand protecting her, moving fast but carefully. They made it to the shelter just as emergency doors sealed. Deho set Lyra down and immediately checked her over. Are you okay? Are you hurt? Lyra stared at him. You protected me. Of course I did. You moved me before yourself. You could have been hurt. That's what adults do. We protect children first, always. Lyra threw her arms around him and held tight. Her body shook slightly and Deho realized she was crying. He didn't know Velians could cry. Small crystals formed at the corners of her eyes, falling like tiny diamonds. No one has ever protected me like that, she whispered. The royal guards protect the throne. They protect the crown. But you protected me. Just me. Deho held her until the all-clear signal sounded, even after she didn't want to let go. That evening, Jiwoo found Deho in the human common area staring at nothing. You okay? She asked, sitting beside him. I didn't think I could feel this again, Deho said quietly. After Sujin died, I thought that part of me died too. The part that could be a father. But you are being a father. To Lyra. She's not my daughter. She's an alien princess. I'm just teaching her about humans. Jiwoo gave him a look. Is that what you're telling yourself? Because from where I'm standing, you two look exactly like a father and daughter. Deho couldn't argue. He knew she was right. Somewhere over the past 2 weeks, Lyra had stopped being a diplomatic curiosity and become something much more important. She had become his responsibility, his purpose, his daughter in every way that mattered. The question was, what happened when the diplomatic mission ended? When he had to go back to Earth and she had to return to Velian Prime? He didn't have an answer, and that scared him more than any hull breach ever could. The stars looked different from Harmony Gate. Captain Dae-ho Kim stood at the observation window, watching ships from a dozen different worlds dock at the massive space station. He had been a diplomat for 5 years now, but some sights still made him pause. Today was special. Today humans would meet the Velian Empire for the first time in formal talks. Dae-ho adjusted his uniform and checked his reflection in the polished metal wall. At 42, gray already touched his temples. The lines around his eyes told stories he wished he could forget. His daughter's face flashed in his memory, but he pushed it away. Work was easier than remembering. The Velians arrived exactly on time. Their ship was beautiful, made of what looked like living crystal that caught the light in rainbow patterns. When the airlock opened, Dae-ho got his first real look at them. They were tall, much taller than humans, with bodies that seemed carved from translucent stone. Light moved through them like water through ice. Queen Thalis led the group, and even from across the docking bay, Dae-ho could feel her presence. She moved like winter itself, cold and unstoppable. The ceremony was formal and boring. Both sides read prepared statements. Translators worked hard to make sure nothing got lost in meaning. Dae-ho had done this dozens of times with other species. He knew how to smile at the right moments, how to bow with respect but not submission. The Velians seemed pleased, or at least not offended. With aliens, you could never be completely sure. But something caught his eye during the speeches. A small figure peeked from behind one of the decorative pillars near the Velian delegation. It was a child, or what looked like a child. She was much smaller than the adult Velians, barely reaching their waists. Her crystalline body held softer colors, pinks and purples instead of the cold blues and whites of the adults. When she noticed Dae-ho looking, she ducked back behind the pillar. After the ceremony, there was a reception. Dae-ho made polite conversation with various Velian officials. They were stiff and formal, choosing their words carefully. Everything felt rehearsed, like actors reading lines. He was getting tired when he felt a tap on his leg. The small Velian child stood there, looking up at him with eyes that sparkled like amethysts. She said something in her language, a sound like wind chimes and distant thunder. The translation device on Dae-ho's collar took a moment to process it. You are the Earth human captain? Dae-ho knelt down to her level, an instinct from years of being a father. Yes, I'm Captain Kim, but you can call me Dae-ho. What's your name? I am Lyra, Princess Lyra of the Velian Empire. She said it matter-of-factly, the way children do when they don't yet understand the weight of titles. Well, Princess Lyra, it's very nice to meet you. Dae-ho offered his hand. Lyra looked at it with confusion, then carefully placed her own hand in his. Her skin felt smooth and cool like polished stone warmed by morning sun. What were you doing at the ceremony? Lyra asked. You looked sad. The directness of children was the same across the galaxy, apparently. Dae-ho smiled despite himself. I was listening to the speeches. Sometimes grown-up talks are boring. Very boring, Lyra agreed with feeling. I wanted to leave, but Mother said I must watch. She said I need to learn about ruling. The little princess's light dimmed slightly. I am always learning about ruling. Before Dae-ho could respond, a tall Velian woman appeared. She wore robes that marked her as royal staff. Princess Lyra, you should not bother the Earth humans. Come. Lyra's shoulders dropped, but she obeyed. As she was led away, she looked back at Dae-ho once, and he saw something in her eyes he recognized. Loneliness. The same loneliness he saw in his own mirror every morning. The next day, Deho was reviewing trade documents in his quarters when his door chimed. He opened it to find Lyra standing there with a different attendant. "Princess Lyra wishes to observe Earth-human behavior," the attendant said stiffly. "Queen Thalas has approved educational observation time." Deho blinked in surprise but stepped aside. "Of course. Please come in." The attendant left Lyra there and departed. The little princess immediately started looking around his quarters with undisguised curiosity. She touched his coffee maker, examined his books, and stared at the photos on his wall. "What is this?" She pointed at a picture of Earth. "That's my home planet, Earth. It looks soft. Velian Prime is all crystal mountains and stone cities." She moved to another photo. "Who is this small Earth human?" Deho's chest tightened. It was a photo of his daughter, taken 2 years before the plague that took her. "That was my daughter. Her name was Sujin." "Was?" Lyra tilted her head. "She is not anymore?" "She died 3 years ago." Lyra was quiet for a moment. Then she reached out and touched Deho's hand again. The same gesture from yesterday. "I am sorry. My father died too, in a war at the border. I do not remember him very much." They stood there in silence, two people from different worlds, connected by loss. Finally, Lyra spoke again. "Will you teach me about Earth humans? The attendants teach me about ruling and protocol and star charts, but I want to know about the other things." "What other things?" "I saw Earth-human families at the observation deck yesterday. The small ones were laughing. The big ones were touching them with kindness." "What is that called?" Deho felt something crack in his chest, a wall he had built carefully over 3 years. "That's called being a family, being a parent. Will you teach me about that?" Lyra's eyes shone with hope. "Please?" Deho thought about saying no. This could complicate things. Diplomacy was delicate. But looking at this lonely princess, he saw his own daughter. He saw a child who needed something more than lessons about ruling. "Yes," he said quietly. "I'll teach you." Lyra's whole body brightened, literally. Light pulsed through her crystalline form in waves of happy color. "Thank you, Captain Deho." What neither of them knew was that in the Velian royal quarters, Queen Thalas sat in her meditation chamber. Around her, small crystal spheres floated, each one showing different views from hidden sensors. One sphere showed Deho's quarters. It showed her daughter smiling, truly smiling for the first time since her father's death. Thalas had approved this observation time specifically to watch what the human would do. She told herself it was for security. She told herself it was proper caution when dealing with unknown species. But as she watched Deho kneel down to Lyra's level again, as she heard him promise to teach her daughter about human families, Thalas felt something she hadn't felt in years. Curiosity mixed with something else. Something that felt almost like envy. She touched a control and the crystal sphere zoomed closer. She would watch. She would watch everything. For Lyra's safety, of course. Only for safety. Thalas told herself this lie and kept watching.